This is the Northern Ireland.
To the public.
An interview.
And if you can do your needful with any electronic devices. There were draft minutes of our 4th of February and 6th of February meeting, so if members are content with their accuracy, unless there's any amendments, then we'll agree them and then sign them. Agreed.
Yeah.
Matters arising. Item 1 is a copy of advice from the Equality Commission to the Minister for Justice on the review of the criteria for the appointment of the Chief Constable. At the meeting on the 4th of February, the Minister undertook to provide a copy of the advice submitted by the Equality Commission in relation to the review of the criteria for the appointment of Chief Constable. The Minister's provided that advice and it's on pages 19 to 22. If members are content, we'll note the letter from the Commission. Noted. Item 2 is updated forward work programmes, pages 3 to 12 of the table pack. A number of oral and written briefings have been included on the work programme for February. They've been postponed at the request of the Department of Justice and will be rescheduled at a later date. The briefing by the Prison Governors Association and Prison Reform Programme we will seek to schedule before the end of March rather than May to ensure the availability of the relevant personnel are there. As you know, the headroom has been created. Potentially some of the individuals involved may not be in post come the end of April, so I think it would be prudent that we would have them coming at the end of March so we can hear from those governors that are part of the Governors Association, because they may not be there after that. So if we're happy, we'll bring them in sometime at the end of March. Item 5 is Human Trafficking Exploitation Bill, the timetable for the rest of the committee stage, and it's on pages 24 to 27. The committee stage of the bill, including agreement of committee report, as members know, needs to be completed by the 11th of April. Following the evidence event earlier, oral evidence sessions with the police and the Department of Justice will be taking place on Thursday the 20th of February and Thursday the 6th of March. We also have 2 informal meetings where we'll be taking further oral evidence on the bill. They have been arranged for lunchtime on the 20th of February, one with a former sex trafficking victim and the other with a former prostitute. So,
Mr. Chairman,
members,
can I wonder, would it be worth adding the Attorney General to that list? I must say, this morning and this afternoon, I found extremely useful, and some very, very interesting points were made, not just in Clause 6, but in the whole bill. And the one issue that does trouble me, and I think we do as a committee need to look, is this issue of immunity. And the whole issue of someone who is a trafficker, who is a victim and then becomes a trafficker. And this is a continuum. How do you establish? Could you have a situation where someone was a genuine victim, then went over onto the dark side and became a trafficker, and gets total immunity because they have been trafficked at some stage, and how that's enforceable? And I think there's some technical issues here. Would be very, very useful to have the Attorney General's input into. And that arose directly as a result of this morning's meeting. I'd like to go over the Hansard of the evidence and just pick out some of those legal technical points and ask for his advice on how practical some of them are.
okay. Members happy enough?
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
Okay.
Well, then maybe I wish to withdraw that. I've obviously done something very wrong.
We'll get his assistant and we'll get the assistant attorney.
Chair, this is a continuing trend. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, he was with the Irish Congress of Trade Unions supporting them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You know, it's a slippery slope.
He's been on that for years.
Okay. So we're happy. Well, note then, it's again just to remind you, the 20th of February and 6th of March. Which one's first, the PSNI or the?
PSNI, right.
Okay. So the PSNI are here next Thursday, and then the departments on the 6th of March, and we'll see what the AG's availability is. Item 6 is Magistrate Courts Amendment Rules 2014, pages 29 to 48. At our meeting on the 9th of January, the committee noted correspondence from the Minister of Justice advising accelerated passage bill to deal with the issue of enforcement fines was no longer required as a lawful enforcement procedure, as it could be implemented through court rules. He subsequently provided further details of the new magistrates' court rules, which prescribe the procedure for notifying a person of a fine default hearing in respect of the enforcement of the fine. At present, the magistrate court rules are not subject to any resolution procedure of the Assembly, but are made by the Magistrates Court Rules Committee. So it's for members to note the Magistrate Courts Rules 2014, which were made by the Magistrate Court Rules Committee on the 17th of January this year. Noted. Item 7, Police Service of Northern Ireland and Reserve Pensions, pages 50 to 56. At our meeting on the 5th of December last year, the committee noted the proposal for a stat rule to implement year 3 of the increase in rates of contributions payable by members of the police pension schemes governed by these regulations. The Northern Ireland amendments mirror the principle of delivering targeted level of savings to the cost of public sector pension schemes that are proposed in England and Wales for 2014-15. The Executive has agreed not to opt different approaches for Northern Ireland. The rule also details how the rates are structured into 3 tiers. The stat rule was laid by the Department on the 4th of February. It's subject to negative resolution. There have been no changes to the policy since it was submitted to the committee. The examiner for the rules has confirmed that he has no issues in respect of technical aspects. The Department has provided a copy of a correction slip that was necessary just to fix a printing error, and this is found on page 14 of the table. So if people are content, let me formally put the question that the Committee for Justice considered Statutory Rule 2014 number 19, the Police Service of Northern Ireland and Police Service of Northern Ireland Reserve Pensions Amendment Regulations 2014 and has no objection to the rule. Agreed. Yeah. Item 8, terms of reference for the Sagini inspection of police community safety partnerships. The CGI for Northern Ireland's programme includes a thematic inspection of police and community safety partnerships, which examine a broad range of issues around governance, performance and accountability. The Department is indicating the date for inspection has been brought forward in light of the forthcoming local government reorganisation to help inform the work of the Department and the Police Board in relation to the reconstitution of the PCSPs, which will take effect from April 2015. The inspections to begin shortly with the aim of reporting interim findings by June and the final report by the end of the year, and the terms of reference for inspection have been provided, so members are asked to note that information. Item 9, Attorney General is required under Section 8 of the Justice Act 2008 to issue guidance to named criminal justice organisations on the exercise of their functions in a manner consistent with international human rights. At our meeting on the 9th of January, we considered draft guidance by the Attorney General for the PPS and the Northern Ireland Prison Service and agreed to request the views of both organisations on it. Both the PPS and the Prison Service have indicated that they met with the Attorney General staff to discuss the draft guidance and they are content with the versions that have been presented to the committee. So it's just to seek members' views that we are now content with that draft guidance for both the Public Prosecution Service and the Prison Service on the exercise of their functions in the manner consistent with international human rights standards. Agreed. Item 10, Department of Justice Monitoring Round Return, pages 113 to 121. At our meeting on the 10th of December, we considered the Departments of Justice January 2014 monitoring round position and the main pressures and easements. The Department has provided further information, which was requested by the committee, regarding the 5.6 million pressure relating to Historic Inquiries Team and a more detailed analysis of the current position regarding financial settlement agreed by the PSNI as part of the 2011-15 budget. So it's for members to note the additional information that has been provided, unless members have any further points of clarification. Okay. Item 11 is proposals to vary firearms licensing fees and other miscellaneous amendments. Following the extensive consideration at the meeting on the 11th of October, we agreed to write to the Department outlining that we're not prepared to support the proposed firearm licensing fee increases and other changes to legislation. The committee indicated the Department should engage with key stakeholder organisations on the variety of issues raised to achieve a collaborative way forward on the matter and report back to the committee. We also expressed a view that the implementation of a banding system should have been more advanced, and we stated that progress in relation to this matter should be taken forward. The Department has now written outlining officials have been working on the various issues with a view to moving forward, and the Minister has agreed they should conduct additional investigative work in a couple of areas, following which a detailed briefing will be provided to the committee. So it's there for members to note that update. Noted. Item 12 is NIJAC and the High Court Judge competition issue, pages 16 to 47 of the table pack. We've got another letter from the Lord Chief Justice requesting clarification around the legal advice received by the committee regarding its role in relation to the judicial appointments process and specifically the High Court Judge competition. The Clerk has discussed the further request with the Director of Legal Services. Given the request is seeking the content of legal advice received by the Committee, which the Committee has already declined to share with the Lord Chief Justice, it is proposed to respond again, declining to provide the legal advice but indicating the Committee has taken advice to inform its considerations of the issues the Lord Chief Justice previously raised, and we're content that we have jurisdiction to look at the judicial appointment policy and process. The response will also again clarify that the Committee does not intend to conduct an inquiry into the single High Court Judge competition, but rather we're undertaking a further review of the judicial appointments policy and process, and connected to that we're of a view that handling of individual appointments processes is a relevant and material source of evidence. So it's for members' agreement that we would seek to again respond similarly to the Lord Chief Justice. Agreed. Now, while the Committee's preference was to schedule the attendance of the Lord Justice Coughlin first, Sir Declan had indicated that he was wanting to come to the Committee, so I would propose that we would go ahead and schedule that meeting as opposed to continuing to have this debate about the attendance of Lord Justice Coughlin, that we'll go ahead and take up Sir Declan's offer and seek to have that meeting. Meanwhile, we'll still continue to pursue, obviously, if we can get Lord Justice Coughlin, but in the absence of that being resolved, I think we should go ahead and have that meeting with Sir Declan. Members are content?
Yep.
Item 13 is correspondence, of which there's 12 items, and 4 items are in the table pack, and let me draw attention to a couple. There's a response from the Department in respect to our views around Roy Beggs' private members' bill on scrap metal theft. The Department has provided a copy of the response to the consultation, which outlines work undertaken to identify and implement measures to disincentivise criminals from undertaking crimes relating to metal theft, and highlights the view of the Minister the Department has no locus over day-to-day operational practice within waste management sector, which he considers are for the Department of Environment. So, if members are content, we'll forward that response on to Mr. Beggs. Yep. Agreed. Item 6, correspondence from the Committee for Finance and Personnel, provides a copy of a written briefing paper prepared by the Department of Finance on the budget bill and accompanying spring supplementary estimates. The Committee is of the view that the paper should be a potential model for other departments to follow in briefing committees. So if members are content, we could request a similar briefing from the Department of Justice for future supply resolution debates. Content? Item 7 is correspondence from the Committee of Finance and Personnel seeking views of the Justice Committee on the Northern Ireland Audit Office report on sickness absence in the public sector. The Committee has suggested that we may wish to request a response to the report's findings from the Department of Justice, and if necessary schedule a briefing from Audit Office officials. So if members are content, we'll request comments from the Department of Justice in respect of it, and then we can decide if we want to have Audit Office officials in front of us. Agreed? Item 8 is a response from Chief Commissioner of the Parole Commissioners for Northern Ireland to a request for further information during the oral evidence session of the 21st of November last year regarding the number of times the Commission has been asked to recall or revoke a licence in conflict-related cases and has at first refused. The response suggests that if the query is in relation to recall of prisoners who have been released under the terms of the Good Friday Agreement and who following release had gone on to commit further scheduled offences, then the matter should be redirected to the Sentence Review Commissioners. So it's whether members want to do that and forward it on to that request to the Sentence Review Commissioners. I think it was...
It's not quite the question they were asking me, so I can come back to it.
Okay.
It wasn't the question they were asked, but I'll come back to it, Chair.
Okay. Item 9 is at page 49 of your meeting folder. It's correspondence from Lisburn Council to the Secretary of State for Home Office regarding a resolution passed by the Council at its meeting on the 20th of January regarding the death and serious injury caused by the alleged use of a Class A drug known as ecstasy over the Christmas period. calling on the Minister for Justice and the Secretary of State for the Home Office to review the Misuse of Drugs Act. So if members are content, we'll note that correspondence, and we could ask to be copied into the response so that we have that information as well. Agreed. Item 1 of your table packs, a letter from the Department informing the Committee of a decision by the Information Commissioner to levy a monetary penalty on the Department for a data breach by the Compensation Agency. The Department has accepted the penalty of $185,000, which, if it's paid by the 13th of February, is reduced to $148,000. So it was commented widely in the media. So it's for members to note. Unless
Just as a matter of interest, does that fine come directly out of the DOJ budget? Is there any other mechanism for?
Yeah, well, we believe so, yeah. Okay. Item 2 is a copy of the CGI report on Forensic Science Northern Ireland that was published earlier today. So if members are content, we can note that report.
Yep.
Item 3 is an invite from NIACRO, a discussion event that it's holding on Thursday the 20th of February. It's from 12:30 to 1:30 on prison councils and safer prisons, the benefits and challenges. And if any members wish to attend, if you can advise the clerk accordingly. Item 4 is a letter from Randox Testing Services regarding the nature of drug abuse in prisons and the procurement process for the provision of drug testing. Representatives understand that the Prison Service is going to issue procurement documents in the near future, and they've asked the committee to raise the issues highlighted with the Minister for Justice as a matter of priority. They're also seeking an opportunity to meet with members. So if members are content, we can pass on the correspondence to the department for them to respond, and certainly I'm happy to meet with them, and if any other members want to do that, once a date's been arranged, the clerk can advise members, and if you're able to attend, you'd be welcome to. Any other comments on the correspondence? Otherwise, we'll agree to action it as outlined. Agreed. Just an item on Chairman's business. Mr. William Hay, the Speaker, has invited to a drinks reception and dinner to celebrate the work of the Business Trust, and it's on Thursday the 27th of February at 7 p.m. in the Long Gallery. I may or may not be able to go. Item 2 is a meeting from the Chief Inspector of the CGI. That's just at this stage to update members that the Deputy Chair and I met with the Chief Inspector, Brendan McGuigan, on Tuesday, and to discuss the possibility of CGI providing an independent assessment of the likely impact of changes to civil legal aid. The Chief Inspector was receptive to the idea. I expressed the view that they could possibly undertake this piece of work to assist the committee. So Christine's going to prepare a paper for members to consider, that we can formalise the areas that we want to potentially commission them to do. So when that report's done, it'll come to the committee, and then we can agree the areas that we would like them to look at, and then we'll formally ask them if they can do it. Brendan indicated that he would just need permission to do it. It's not necessarily within their statutory remit, but he was certainly keen to do it if he can, and he would just need to deal with a few issues formally to allow them to do it, but at this stage he was certainly keen. So when that comes back to the committee, we'll formalise the areas that we would like to see if they can take forward. Then we've a letter from the Minister on Legal Aid Coroner's Court Bill, and that is indicating he would wish to meet with the Deputy Chair and I to discuss the Legal Aid and Coroner's Court Bill, which he hopes to get permission from the Executive to introduce in March. Following which the committee will be briefed on the principles of the bill. The Minister is hoping to have royal assent as early as possible, no later than September. So members familiar with committee stage will know that that's a very short period of time for us to be able to do our work. But we can deal with that issue obviously as it arises. But that's his intention. Any other business? Okay. Thank you, members, for coming back to dispose of the business.
This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30.